Tonight on Sports Night in Auburn, we have coverage of football, volleyball, and soccer.
And stay tuned for an exclusive interview with college football analyst Josh Paige.
All that and so much more
on Sports Night in Auburn.
Auburn, Alabama, the best atmosphere in all of college sports.
He drives and slips.
Welcome to Sports Night in Auburn.
Gone deep to the left.
Welcome to Sports Night in Auburn.
Sideline going to the
Welcome to Sports Night in Auburn.
And welcome back to Sports Night in Auburn.
Sports Night in Auburn. I'm Micah Farmer.
And I'm Valerie Heffernan. We have a lot in store for you tonight, so let's get into it. Starting off with football, punter Oscar Chapman was named the Ray Guy Award Punter of the Week after his performance against UGA. He punted 5 times on Saturday for a total of 256 yards. This included a 71-yard punt that was tied for the 3rd longest punt in Auburn history and tied the longest punt in the SEC this season. This was just one of 3 punts that landed inside Georgia's 20-yard line. He currently ranks 5th in the SEC through the first 5 games.
In other football news, Auburn's Jalen Simpson and Marcus Harris were named to the Week 5 College Football Team of the Week according to PFF. Simpson recorded his 4th pick on the season and now leads the nation in interceptions. He had a coverage grade of 91.8 and also had a pass breakup. Harris recorded 7 total tackles, including 2 tackles for loss and a pass breakup. With coverage from Saturday's game, here's Vince Wolfram.
The Deep South's oldest rivalry. Number 1 Georgia battling Auburn, and look who decided to make his return. Cam Newton in the building, getting Jordan-Hare going, and it had its effect because Auburn came out of the gates like it was 2010 again. On the first drive, a 66-yard dash from quarterback Peyton Thorne set up Alex McPherson for a 27-yard field goal to get the Tigers on the board first. Ensuing Dogs possession, Brock Bowers throwing across the middle gets nabbed by Jalen Simpson, marking his 4th interception already this season. Sir, it's September 30th. That is a bad man. The freeze warning was issued in quarter 1, but Jarquez Hunter had different plans. He turned up the heat, bodying his way into the end zone from 5 yards out to grow the Auburn lead to 10-0 at the end of the first. Georgia's clock was set to comeback time in quarter 2. DeJuan Edwards carried it in for 6, and then the Dogs evened the score 10-10 with a 37-yard boot just before the half. And that's when matters turned over to the hands of Georgia's tag team quarterback Carson Beck and tight end Brock Bowers. Beck found his evil twin Bowers 4 times for 121 yards in the final quarter alone, and Auburn just had no answer. 3 Auburn defensive backs couldn't even stop Bowers on this one as he took the rock 40 yards to the house, giving Georgia the lead 27-20 with 2:50 to play. Auburn started their 2-minute drill hot with a catch and a first down from Rivaldo Fairweather. The hope was in the air. 4th and 9 from the Auburn 48. Peyton Thorne drops back, scrambles, throws, and gets intercepted. Auburn faithful in shambles. 27-20 the final. Georgia's 22-game win streak stays alive. Next week, a bye week for Auburn, and head coach Hugh Freeze knows that this battle with the number 1 will fuel his Tigers moving forward.
You have a chance to beat the number 1 team in the country and back-to-back national champions at home, and the feeling that you get if you can pull that off is just ecstatic, and you can certainly build off of that, and hopefully we can build off of the way we played better today. But it hurts, and it's disappointing that we didn't find a way to get it done today, but I'm really proud of our kids.
For Eagle Eye TV, I'm Vince Wolfram.
The Tigers have a bye week this Saturday, but look to bounce back on October 14th when they travel to Death Valley to take on LSU in a night game.
Next, with their takes on what Auburn could do to improve during the bye week, we have the boys of Strictly Auburn.
Here's Eagle Eye's Jake Lazarus, Connor King, and Eli Lingo taking Auburn football in just 3 minutes.
Thanks, guys. The boys of Strictly Auburn are back. I'm here with Connor and Eli. I'm Jake. We got 150 seconds to talk some Auburn football. Let's get right into it. Auburn heads into the bye week this week before going to LSU to take on the Tigers on October 14th in a night game under the lights in Baton Rouge. What do you guys need to see improvement-wise or change-wise over the bye week so our Tigers improve a little bit heading into the second half? Eli, let's start with you.
Yeah, Jake, the Tigers have to get off the field on 3rd down. Georgia converted 60% of their 3rd downs on Saturday. Obviously, that was a huge problem for the Tigers defense. Carson Beck picked us apart, and then, Brock Bowers had a historic game on Saturday. So I think We're going to Death Valley. It's at 6:30. It's going to be a crazy atmosphere, a night game. On a big third down, we have to get off the field.
Connor?
I think our receivers have to step up. The last 6 Power 5 games we've played in have been under 100 yards from our quarterback. It's multiple quarterbacks. I think the receivers play a big part in that. 6 of our 9 completions or incompletions that we had this weekend could have been gotten to. We only were accredited for 1 drop. That was an open field drop by Jakai, but there were so many times when Peyton threw the ball downfield where our receivers just couldn't get to it. Georgia's DBs, they played a big part in that, but there were times where, like Malcolm Johnson could have brought down one of those passes downfield. I also saw Shane Hooks. He dove for a pass, could have gotten there within his route. There's just many times where our receivers didn't make the play they were supposed to, and, if they would have brought down one of those completions, it could have been 1 or 2 more scores added to the game.
I like that. I think for me, it's got to be Hugh Freeze calling plays. I mean, he called plays against Georgia, but for the 4 weeks leading up to that, I mean, that was some abysmal offense. So I think moving forward, and especially after the bye week, having multiple weeks to prepare for an LSU team, I want to see Hugh Freeze keep calling plays, open up that playbook, get a little bit more dynamic in the passing game. I know you don't have the receiver talent that we hope to have, which we will have when Perry Thompson shows up, but right now we don't. So embrace what you do have in Rivaldo Fairweather, and you got to play well on the road. In LSU, it's going to be a crazy environment. We all know that, but got to play well on the road. Stuff has to change from Cal and Texas A&M. If we play like that, we're going to get blown out by a really good LSU team. But if we show up like we did against Georgia, there's no reason our Tigers can't come out on top. But yeah, back to you guys in the studio.
You can listen to their Strictly Auburn podcast on Eagle Eye's YouTube channel or anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Now we have an exclusive clip from reporter Joleigh Cavanagh's interview with Josh Pate, host of the Late Kick podcast. Take a look.
Ask you, where do you see Auburn under Hugh Freeze in the next 3 years? We have a top 15 recruiting class in 2024. We flipped wide receiver Perry Thomas from Alabama, DeMarcus Riddick from Georgia. Where do you see the Auburn program going in 3 years? Are we back to Cam Newton, Nick Marshall level? Where do you think Hugh Freeze can take Auburn?
I think they'll be an SEC championship contender, maybe as soon as next year. And it's gonna raise a lot of eyebrows if you say that, because I think a lot of folks are still married to the old idea that if you start from scratch, it takes 3 years minimum, because that used to be true, and that is just not true anymore. It is absolutely not true. If anything, I think Hugh Freeze being here kind of was a wake-up call for the rest of the conference. Like I was talking to someone earlier, some people took shots at Auburn when they hired Hugh Freeze. What you'll notice is no coaches around the SEC chimed in, because they've played against him before. Like, they know what he's about. They weren't happy when Auburn hired Hugh Freeze, just for much different reasons than the general public. When he gets his guys in here, and using the portal will make that happen a lot faster. When he gets his kind of guy in here, you don't have to go man for man with Alabama on a piece of paper. You don't have to go man for man with Georgia, because he understands the way to take that sponge and squeeze every last drop of offensive potential out of it, especially. But the thing about Freeze's teams is when he's won, it hasn't been 56-49. He's had good defenses as well, and they've already got that in place here. I don't think that identity is going anywhere. I just think starting next year, and especially the year after, when you talk about SEC championship picture, Auburn will either be involved or you'll have to go through Auburn to get there.
Make sure to check out the full interview with Josh Pate on Eagle Eye's YouTube channel.
And here with his college football picks of the week, it's Kegan Miller.
Howdy, I'm Kegan Miller. Y'all know the drill by now. If I'm on your screen, it means it's time to talk some college football. That's right. Let's start with the number 10 Fighting Irish, going to number 25 Louisville. Notre Dame coming off of a big win against Duke last week, and I expect them to keep this energy against the Cardinals. Sam Hartman has proven to be a beast this year, and this is the first real team undefeated Louisville will have to face, and they won't stay undefeated long, trust me. Wait, is this an SEC matchup yet? Not this year, but next year it certainly will be, with number 3 Texas taking on number 12 Oklahoma in Dallas. Both these teams have a great passing game, which is why this game is going to come down to the running game. With that being said, I have to go with Texas. Jonathan Brooks has been lights out all year. I don't see Oklahoma's defense shutting him down, and the horns will be going up this weekend in Austin. Now we move on to the real SEC, with 3 big matchups that may shake up the conference in ways we haven't seen in years. Let's start in College Station when Texas A&M takes on the number 11 Crimson Tide. Saban's defense is legit this year, y'all. Reminds me of his defenses of old. Defenses teams feared to play. I also think Milroe is starting to find his footing and lead his offense. I can't see Texas A&M keeping up with the Tide, and Alabama wins this one. Next up is number 23, LSU, going to the undefeated number 21, Missouri Tigers. That's right, we have a good old-fashioned Tiger Brawl this weekend, and that's exactly what it's going to be. LSU's offense is electric, but I like what I'm seeing from Missouri's defense this year. With that being said, I think LSU's offense and Jaden Daniels just barely nudge out Mizzou this weekend and win closely. Finally, the undefeated number 1, Georgia Bulldogs host number 20, undefeated Kentucky Wildcats. Well, both these teams can't stay undefeated, and one team will have a loss come Sunday morning. And that team is going to be Georgia. That's right. I'm taking the upset here. If Kentucky can lock up Brock Bowers and give Ray Davis a chance to shine, they'll win. And I think exactly what they do this weekend. Kentucky sat home and watched the Auburn game last week and learned a lot. They're hungry, and they'll feast this weekend. Ray Davis is going to run right through Georgia's defense. That's all I have for y'all tonight, though. Be sure to tune in this weekend and share your thoughts come game day with us on Twitter.
Being from Louisville, you know I've got to pick my Kentucky Wildcats. What about you, Micah?
I think you got to look out for that LSU-Missouri game this week and look for sophomore receiver Luther Burden for Missouri to go crazy in that one.
Nice. Jumping from college to professional, here is Joleigh Cavanagh once again, but this time with her segment From the Plains to the Pros.
Good evening, I'm Joleigh Cavanagh, and welcome back to From the Plains to the Pros. Tonight I have Auburn in the NFL, but also have an update of Auburn in the major leagues as playoffs are officially in full swing. Starting off strong on Thursday Night Football, 3 former Tigers had strong performances against the Detroit Lions. Green Bay Packers safety Rudy Ford had another great game for the second week in a row. He recorded 8 total tackles, 1 pass defended, and his first interception of the season. Ford picked off Lions quarterback Jared Goff early on in the first possession of the game and ran for 21 yards. This play set up Green Bay's first field goal of the game. Ford was graded the second highest player on the Packers defense according to PFF with a 73.4 overall grade. Right behind him was rookie Colby Wooden. Wooden was the 3rd highest graded player on the defense in week 4 with an overall grade of 71 right behind Ford. He had 4 total tackles, including a tackle for loss, and also had his first career quarterback hit. The last of the Auburn Tigers on the Packers is kicker Anders Carlson. He maintained his 100% completion rate so far this season with 2 field goals. This included a 50-yard long field goal. Carlson also was back at home this weekend and attended Auburn versus Georgia at Jordan-Hare. Keeping it in the family, Las Vegas Raiders kicker Daniel Carson also maintained his 100% completion rate. He had 2 extra points and a 22-yard field goal against the Chargers. After missing the last 2 games with a toe injury, Tampa Bay Buccaneers cornerback Carlton Davis III played on Sunday. In his first game back, he had 4 total tackles and 1 pass defended. In yet another overtime battle for the Colts, offensive tackle Braden Smith had the highest blocking grade of the entire Colts offensive line. Even while battling one of the best defensive linemen in the NFL, Aaron Donald, Smith had a grade of 83.7 according to PFF. And in case you missed it, the NFL went global this weekend. The Atlanta Falcons and Jacksonville Jaguars battled it out in London, with the Jaguars taking the W with a final score of 23-7. Former Auburn defensive end Angelo Blackson helped seal his team the win after Chargers linebacker Josh Allen forced the fumble. Blackson hopped right onto it to gain his 2nd fumble recovery on the season. Jumping back to the U.S. on Sunday Night Football, New York Jets tight end C.J. Uzomah had his first touchdown of the season. It was 2nd and 1 at the Kansas City 1-yard line, and Uzomah was able to come away with the catch from Zach Wilson. Lastly, on Monday Night Football, rookie linebacker Derek Hall played a crucial role in the Seahawks' takedown of the Giants. Hall had 2 quarterback hits on Giants quarterback Daniel Jones. His first forced the Giants to punt, while a second was on a 4th down and led Jones to throw a pick to Seattle safety Quandre Diggs. Now for the weekly injury report, not much has changed. Although Carlton Davis III was back in action last weekend, the other half of the Auburn duo, Jamel Dean, did not play on Sunday. He is questionable to return, but looks to recover over Tampa's bye week this week. Patriots cornerback Jonathan Jones has not played since the season opener and is still listed as questionable for week 5 with an ankle injury. Finally, Kansas City offensive tackle Prince Tega Winogo was placed on injured reserve on Wednesday with a quad injury. Now, before I leave you, here are the 2 Auburn Tigers to look out for during the MLB playoffs. Josh Donaldson is the starting 3rd baseman for the Milwaukee Brewers, and Eduardo Julian is a 2nd baseman for the Minnesota Twins. That is all I have for you tonight. From the Plains to the Pros, War Eagle.
Coming up, we have a game day weather report by reporter Albert Osario. Stay tuned for that and much more on Sports Night in Auburn.
What's up, y'all? I'm Albert Osario, and this is y'all's weather report of the week. Auburn soccer will travel to Tuscaloosa to take on the Tide tomorrow at 6 p.m., while they will return home this Sunday at 6 p.m. to take on Arkansas. If you're taking the 3-hour trip tomorrow, you will meet cloudy skies with a high of 85 and a low of 60, while on Sunday in the Plains, expect clear skies with a high of 71 and a low of 48. So make sure to bundle up that day for the game. Auburn football is having its bye week this week, which also means that the annual Auburn Rodeo will take place this Saturday at Sistrunk Farms. You will definitely see something in the orange in the sky that evening as Zach Bryan prepares to take the stage with clear skies as well as a high of 74 and a low of 55. That's all for the Weather Report of the Week. I'm Albert Osario, and you're watching Eagle Eye TV.
Welcome back to Sports Night in Auburn. I'm Micah Farmer.
And I'm Valerie Heffernan. Jumping into volleyball, it was a tough weekend for the number 25 Auburn volleyball team. Last Wednesday, Brent Crouch and the girls hit the road to compete against number 13 Arkansas. Despite Madison Shear's second kill of the evening that tied up the score, the Tigers still lost the match 3-0. Auburn's very own Akasha Anderson and Bella Bell tried to find gaps in the Razorbacks' defense, although in the end, Arkansas took the lead, not giving the Tigers any room to breathe. The Tigers look to make a comeback against Georgia in Neville Arena on Sunday. Here's reporter Jack Corbett with his recap of the game.
Thanks, Val. Not only was the Deep South's oldest rivalry on display on the field, but also on the court as your Auburn volleyball Tigers faced the Georgia Bulldogs in a Sunday showdown. Did the volleyball Tigers make up for the loss in Jordan-Hare the day before, or would UGA sweep Auburn 2-0 on the weekend? Let's take a look. On Sunday, your Tigers faced the Georgia Bulldogs in the volleyball version of the Deep South's oldest rivalry. Before the game, Auburn volleyball would honor the previous year's team for their appearance in the 2022 NCAA tournament by raising a banner to the Raptors in Neville Arena. The Tigers have battled with multiple injuries this week, and this impact was felt throughout the first set. Neither team could gain a sizable lead, with the biggest lead in the first set being only 5 points. At the end of the first set, Auburn would win 25-23 after a set from Jackie Barrett led to a big kill from Madison Shear. In the second set, it was deja vu. Once again, neither team could go on a run, and the biggest lead was only 3 points. With history repeating and the score once again at 24-23 Auburn, Jackie Barrett would set up Madison Shear for the kill in a display of sheer dominance. The third set, however, was a different story. Georgia would go on a 5-0 run early and never looked back as they took a commanding third set victory 25-18. In the fourth set, Auburn would secure the win over Georgia with a 25-20 set victory and get back in the win column in SEC play. Akasha Anderson was a dominant force for Auburn, leading the way with 17 kills. Anderson led a clutch sequence in the fourth set en route to a 3-1 win. However, the star of Sunday's game was Jackie Barrett, who dished 42 assists to other Tigers throughout the game. Here's what she had to say after the game.
I like the way that our energy stayed pretty consistent, like Brent kind of just mentioned, staying that like roller coaster going up, not going up and down. I thought that was like the best thing about today.
Brent Crouch also spoke after the game about the win and his team's perseverance from Wednesday.
I thought it was just a really big win. You know, we had a pretty tough loss against Arkansas last week, and to come back and have a really good showing after our last match, I thought was huge.
For Eagle Eye TV, this is Jack Corbett.
Next, the Auburn volleyball team will go head-to-head in a rematch against number 4 Florida on October 6th in Gainesville. Then soon after, come out and support with your orange and blue on October 8th as we go against the University of South Carolina.
It was an exciting time for Auburn softball as they opened up the J&B Moore Field to host opponents Snead State and Troy. They beat both teams, Snead State 18-2 and Troy 14-0. Auburn poured on the runs, ending Sunday's doubleheader with a .403 team average. In the Sunday opener against Snead State, Michaela Packer slugged a double and a homer, plating 4 runs over the doubleheader. Auburn's defense also stole the show. Abby Smith had 2 diving catches, causing the crowd to go wild. Looking to win the match, Auburn broke their scoreless streak in the first inning. KK McCrary and Michaela Packer got 2-run homers. Next up, mark your calendars. The Tigers return Sunday for another doubleheader. They first take on Auburn Montgomery and then also battle Alabama State.
Crossing over to soccer, the Auburn Tigers took on the number 15 South Carolina Gamecocks on Friday night. We have reporters Jernae Gaines with his coverage of what happened when the Gamecocks came to town. Take a look.
Friday Night Lights in Auburn as your Auburn Tigers host the South Carolina Gamecocks for their 4th conference matchup of the year. The Auburn family showed up and absolutely showed out to create a great home field advantage for the Tigers. South Carolina gets possession first as it looked to start this game hot. The game was very defensive and physical early on. The Tigers and the Gamecocks were both flying around the field all night long and not wanting to give anything up. And speaking of not giving anything up, Golden Glove winner Maddie Prohaska had a total of 3 saves this game. Going into halftime, both teams are scoreless. Also for the Tigers, it is alumni night. Former players were honored at halftime for their time at Auburn. And finally making this appearance, 10-time national champion I'll Be the Tiger makes his appearance to get the crowd even more hyped than they already were. The team looks to put the Auburn family on their back. Coming out of halftime, the Tigers start with possession. They look to clean things up and play better. It wasn't until there was less than 10 minutes left in the game when Sidney Theobald finally finds the back of the net for the Tigers. The Auburn crowd absolutely loses it as the light show begins. But unfortunately for the Tigers, the South Carolina Gamecocks explode right back into the scene with a goal. And not even 3 minutes later, the Gamecocks find themselves on the scoreboard once again. Unfortunately for the Tigers, there will just be not enough time left as they fall 1-2 against South Carolina. From Eagle Eye TV, my name is DeAndre Gaines, War Eagle.
The Orange and Blue will look to bounce back in SEC play with 2 games this week. Up first is the Soccer Iron Bowl when Auburn travels to Tuscaloosa to take on the number 9 ranked Crimson Tide tomorrow night. Then on Sunday, the Tigers will play number 7 Arkansas at home.
Coming up, we have tennis, golf, and cross country. But first, Micah, do you know what time it is?
I believe it's trivia time.
You are correct. Who did Nick Marshall famously throw the prayer at Jordan Hare to in the 2013 Auburn vs. Georgia game?
Ricardo Lewis, Trevon Reed, Chris Davis, or Sammy Coates?
Tweet us at EETV_sports with your guess and find out the correct answer when we return. Welcome back to Sports Night in Auburn. I'm Valerie Heffernan.
And I'm Micah Farmer. If you tweeted at us Ricardo Lewis, then you were right. The prayer at Jordan Hare was a game-winning Hail Mary pass in the 2013 Auburn vs. Georgia game. Nick Marshall's 73-yard touchdown pass bounced off Georgia defenders and right into the arms of Ricardo Lewis, with just 36 seconds left in the game. This is widely known as one of the most famous moments in all of college football.
And guess what, Micah? Ricardo Lewis was back in Jordan Hare on Saturday and was even the honorary Mike Man before kickoff. I wonder how he felt to be back for another year of the Deep South's oldest rivalry.
I mean, I would feel pretty great coming in on the 10-year anniversary of that, especially. That would be a pretty cool feeling.
Right? Especially for the Orange.
On to cross country, Auburn's men and women's teams fought hard last Saturday in Beantown and Boston. The men finished 6th of 14 teams in the team standings with 149 points, and the women were 7th of 16 teams with 143 points. Janae Katsea led the Auburn cross country teams as she ran her best race as a Tiger, which gave her a chance to win. Hallie Porterfield, a junior, also put her best foot forward, being successful in her strong race. Her success running helped stabilize the whole team. If you wish to see the Auburn cross-country team, come on out on Friday, October 13th to see them compete in the Crimson Classic at the Pritchett Running Course in Tuscaloosa.
In men's golf, after helping lead the SEC Tigers to a preview championship, freshman Jackson Cavanagh won SEC Freshman of the Week. He ended the championship as the highest-placing freshman. This award is awarded to the league's top rookie. Coming up, the Tigers will travel to Wilmington, North Carolina for the Williams Cup on Monday.
Jumping to the women's side, Auburn women's golf competed at the Windy City Collegiate Classic Monday and Tuesday. After one day of competition, the Tigers are in 10th place through 2 full rounds. Sophomore Casey Wiedenfield picked up 7 birdies in her first 2 rounds and is now tied for 29th individually in the event. Auburn will take a short break after this tournament before heading to Chapel Hill, North Carolina on October 9th for the Ruth Chris Tar Heel Invitational.
Switching gears to tennis, the women's team has been competing in Cary, North Carolina for the ITA All-American Championships since Saturday. After the first 3 days of play, Auburn's DJ Bennett remained undefeated in both singles and doubles. This included a ranked win over number 30 Abby Forbes of North Carolina. This was Bennett's highest ranked win ever. She will participate in the main draw for singles as well as doubles alongside Celine Umbank. Ariana Arnsall and Caroline Osario also earned their way in both the singles and doubles main draws. Adeline Flatch and Allie Despain also gained a spot in the double main draw. The main draw for both the singles and doubles began today with the competition continuing until Sunday. Other members of the team will also be participating in the ITA Southern Regional Championships starting tomorrow. Caitlin Carnasilla and Ava Esposito-Kogan will both travel to Baton Rouge to compete with the competition ending on Monday.
Men's tennis is also competing at the ITA All-American Championships. Auburn sent 5 Tigers to Tulsa, Oklahoma to participate. The championship consists of 3 rounds, the first of which began on Saturday and was the pre-qualifying singles round. This was followed by the qualifying singles and doubles round on Monday and Tuesday. The competition ends with the main draw rounds that started play today and end on Sunday. Senior Tyler Stice is ranked 33rd in the nation and has already qualified for the singles main draw. Raul Debay and Alejandro Moreno have earned their way to the doubles main draw but competed in the qualifying round for singles. Will Nolan and Billy Blades are the last Tigers to make the trip. The junior and sophomore played on opening day in the pre-qualifying singles round on Saturday. The orange and blue look to come out on top when the main draw rounds for both singles and doubles end on Sunday.
When we come back from the break, we have an update on men and women's basketball and our top 3 plays of the week.
But first, it's trivia time.
That's right, Micah. What are the names of the Eagles that fly around Jordan-Hare every game day? Is it A, Freedom and Obby, B, Freedom and Aria, C, Independence and Aria, or D, Freeze and Pearl?
Let us know what you think the correct answer is at EETV_sports and check back with us to see if you were right.
We are back and you are watching Sports Night in Auburn. I'm Valerie Heffernan.
And I'm Micah Farmer. If you said the answer was Independence and Aria, then you were right. Auburn has 2 Eagles who take turns flying around the stadium on game days. They have even started flying over Plainsman Park during baseball season and went to Philly for the home opener to kick off the NFL season for the Eagles. I wish our offense was that high flying sometimes.
Don't you just? Moving on, both the men and women's basketball game times, along with TV scheduled, were announced last week. On the women's side, 9 games will be broadcast on linear networks. 8 are set for SEC Network, with the other one on ESPN. The Auburn Tigers will be back on ESPN for the first time since 2004. The Battle of the Tigers on January 14th at Neville Arena between reigning national champs LSU and Auburn will air on ESPN at 2 p.m. Over on the men's side, 26 games have been announced that they will be broadcast on linear networks. The season opener against Baylor on November 7th will air live on ESPN at 8 p.m. From the Sanford Pentagon in Sioux Falls, Dakota, this matchup looks to be a ranked game as both teams have been ranked in the preseason poll. Auburn comes in at 24 with Baylor at 10.
To wrap up this week's events, here's reporter Paige Hunter with her top 3 plays of the week.
I'm Paige Hunter, and welcome to Auburn Top 3, where I give you the best and biggest plays from this past week's events. Let's get into it. Starting off at number 3 is a 61-yard run from quarterback Peyton Thorne. Auburn's offensive line is able to push back the Georgia defense, creating space for the quarterback to take it down the sideline for a huge gain. This was a pivotal play in the first and sparked a drive that ended in a field goal for the Tigers, putting them up 3-0. Coming in at number 2 is a crucial save from soccer goalie Maddie Prohaska. South Carolina gets a shot on goal in the top right of the net, but Prohaska jumps up and saves the Tigers from going down early in the first. This was one of 3 saves from Prohaska on the night. And finally, the number 1 play from this past week is the Jalen Simpson interception. Simpson jumps in front of Georgia receiver Marcus Romsey-Jackson and comes up with the ball for his 4th interception of the year. This ends Georgia's drive and sets up Auburn for a new drive that results in a touchdown. This was a huge moment for the Tigers as it allowed them to go up on Georgia 10-0 at the end of the first quarter. And those are your Auburn Top 3. See you next week for more of Auburn's biggest plays and best moments.
Lastly, we have upcoming events that you do not want to miss. Number 2, Auburn Equestrian looks to take on number 7, Baylor, out on Friday in a top 10 matchup in Texas. Then on Friday, Auburn Swim and Dive will compete in 2 different events. Some of the team will travel to Louisville, while others travel to Dallas for the SMU Classic.
Well, folks, that's all we have for you tonight. I'm Micah Farmer.
And I'm Valerie Heffernan. Thanks for tuning in, and we hope to see you next week.
War Eagle.